Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's book review time today and I'm back to the old routine. So for those who are new to the channel, the last few reviews that I've done have been for SPF B08, and out of respect for the competition, I didn't include any scoring mechanism within those reviews. As people who are familiar with the channel know, normally when I do a review, I will not only give a star rating to the book based on my gut feeling, how much I enjoyed the book overall, but I also have a weighted rating system where I score each book in a number of factors, including world building, characters and plot, and then the total gives me a percentage rating for the book. So we're back to that system now, and today's review is for Silver Queendom by Dan Koboldt. So first of all, I saw this cover a little while ago and I instantly adored it. I really like the combination of the colours and the content on there, and I was really intrigued about the book. So I went to check out the synopsis and was sold on it and put it on my list. And then a little while later, whilst I was randomly just browsing through NetGalley, I saw the book on there and immediately requested it. This is a book that's all about the fun, and for me it's nice to have a little bit of a break from the true epic fantasy and read a book like this which has lower overall stakes but yet somehow still retains that epic fantasy feel. There's no world-ending threat here, it's just a bunch of thieves or con artists really trying to stay afloat in an ocean of politics, backstabbing, crosses and double crosses and everything else that comes with the territory. Here we have a crew that's based in the Red Rooster Inn, and loosely speaking we have Darren as the brains of the operation, Evie as the beauty, and Tom as the brawn. Additionally, we then also have Kat, who is a brewer, and she has a bit of a habit of collecting orphan boys off the street, and we have the mysterious Seraphina, who essentially looks after the Red Rooster for the crew whilst they're away on jobs. The synopsis tells you that the crew is in deep to the Dame and they take on a job boosting a shipment of Imperial Dream Wine to pay the debt. The story itself is much more than that, however. We see how the crew come to owe the Dame in the first place, and then there's a series of jobs that they take on leading up to that headline steal. So I love how this is a heist story that doesn't just focus on the one job. I've read a couple of those in the past and they generally tend to fall a bit flat for me because you need a bit more to round it all out. And I think Silver Queendom does a really good job of adding in those extras to making a nice, well-rounded story. The characters we get here may seem a little bit familiar, but if you read in a heist story, you do generally tend to see similar types of characters because in any crew you need people with specific skill sets and various other talents. I found though that each of the characters here was well written and likeable, and there were nice little bits of backstory added into the story when it called for it, rather than just forcing them in because the character needs to be fluffed up a little bit. I also thought the supporting characters were nicely done with clever little touches here and there to give you information without the dreaded info dump. We meet various characters in both the upper class and the underworld, and I like how you can get a sense of the danger of a character within just a couple of paragraphs of meeting them without explicitly being told that they are actually dangerous. The world is also nicely put together with odd little bits of magic and history featuring here and there that add to the story without overwhelming it. Unlike in some similar stories, this isn't just all set in the one city, nor do you just see the base of operations and the location of a mark and maybe a couple of the spots on the journey in between them. You do get to see quite a bit more here, and having various little jobs rather than just the one main job that the story focuses on, I think really helps out with that. So you get to do a proper little bit of exploration in the world, all still contained within one nice little corner of it, but I think that's part of what helps to maintain the epic fantasy feel of the book overall. In terms of the heist or heists, I suppose, I think these were generally enjoyable if not overcomplicated. I think the balance between cleverness and realism in these jobs is quite nicely achieved, and whenever things don't go to plan, as will happen sooner or later, the backup plans that the crew have or the improvisations that they make are generally well worked and have a kind of natural feel to them. I did feel that the story didn't necessarily take the direction that I thought it was going to take, particularly towards the end, but it was still satisfying, and I like how Darren and his crew work things or try to work things to their advantage at every opportunity and how that helps to really drive the story along. Overall, this was a really enjoyable story and one that I definitely recommend. It's got a nice light touch to it with some good humour in the interactions between the characters, and I felt that it was a very accessible writing style throughout. At this point, I don't know whether Silver Queendom is part of a series or not. It's not listed as book 1 in a series anywhere that I can see, but the ending of the book definitely leaves it open for more adventures. And I like how with this sort of story, you do have the opportunity for that as well, because you're not requiring war or some other big world-shattering event to provide the characters the opportunity for further adventures. Now, was there anything that I didn't like about this story? I would say not really, to be honest. I thought everything was well done, and there were a few bits, as I say, that didn't necessarily pan out as I expected them to, but that's not an issue. That's just twists and turns in a story. And I ended up giving Silver Queendom 4.5 stars because overall I just had a really good time with it. So into my weighted ratings then, and because I had a good time with this one overall, I gave it 18 out of 20 for the enjoyment. For the world building, I really like what we got here. We didn't see too much of the world. It is, as I mentioned before, a little bit kind of small scale because that's the type of story that we had. But what we did see, I really enjoyed. The magic of metallurgy I thought was really nicely done without overwhelming the story because it's not the key focus. But I like that we have that element and it does play a part. I like the different places that we see and the bits of politics and history that we get. So overall, I thought this was a good job and I gave it 17 out of 20. For the characters, I also gave 17 out of 20. I liked the characters that we got here, and I like how you didn't get too much focus on any one character. I thought it was quite nicely balanced out. But the side characters, or the supporting cast if you like, I think really helped to elevate the character score as a whole because they were really nicely added into the background. For the plot, I've given 16 out of 20. I like the overall story here. As I say, it wasn't too much or too little, it was just complex enough in terms of the heist that the crew took. Inevitably, for me with this type of story, I always just want a little bit more and there's only so far you can go, but I really did like what we got here overall. The writing style, as I said, was really good in tone, it was nicely accessible, there were no real issues that I came across, so I gave this one 7 out of 10. The pacing I thought was really good, there weren't any real slow bits, there was a good bit of fast-paced action because you would expect that in a heist story, and I think the balance overall was really nicely kept, so I gave this one 4 out of 5. And then for the discretionary section at the end, I've given this one 2 out of 5. I said at the top of the video, I really like this cover. It's a really pretty one that I'm looking forward to picking up at some point and having as part of my collection. So that gives Silver Queendom an overall score of 81%, which is a really good score and I think is perhaps the most popular score in my Hall of Fame as well, with 10 titles achieving that particular score. So for the ranking where this one sits in equal 28th along with those other 9 titles, instead of just showing Silver Queendom alongside 4 of those, I'll choose a couple of recent reads that I've not featured in dedicated reviews that sit at 82 or 80%, so just 1 point either side of this one. So that was Silver Queendom by Dan Koboldt, a really enjoyable heist story from Angry Robot Books, which is available, I think it's the 23rd of August that this one comes out. If, like me, you appreciate a good heist story, I definitely recommend checking this one out. I think you could have a really good time with it. Let me know in the comments down below if you're looking forward to this one and what you're expecting from it. As usual, you can find all of my social media and support the channel links in the description box below, including my book club Discord and my Patreon. Do come along and join in if you want to. We'd love to have you in the conversation. That's it for today though. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll see you in the next video sometime soon, but until then, as always, take care of yourselves, read some good books. Bye for now.